Hey there, and welcome to Temporary Locals.
I'm Jared.
And I'm Megan. We are a travel loving couple who somehow always end up feeling like locals wherever we go. From small town streets to some of the world's most iconic wonders, we share our stories, hidden gems, and occasional history or true crime that has shaped the places that we've actually been. So if you're into travel, storytelling, and a little bit of mystery, then you are in the right place, and we would love it if you would subscribe and join us for the ride. This week, we're actually going to do something a little bit different. We have our first ever guest.
Yay.
So, welcome in Dr. Aubrey Sejuit. She's here today to talk to us about her trip through Greece and Turkey. And if you want to give us a little intro about yourself.
Sure. Hi, my name is Dr. Aubrey Sejuit. I'm a licensed clinician. I'm an assistant professor of social work at Winthrop University, and I love to travel. So this is just one of the things that really makes my day.
Yeah, and you guys have gone many, many places. So
Yeah, we try to go somewhere international every year. Like that's kind of the goal. So next year we're looking at potentially Czech Republic and Poland. So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Super, super exciting. So we're really excited to have you on. When we were like, oh, we should have some guests on the podcast, we're like, oh, Aubrey would definitely be somebody that
Yeah.
we want to have on.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me.
Because not only have you been many places, but you're also a talker. You're a talker. So.
That is fair. That is fair. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have your itinerary and we've kind of checked it over, but we really want to hear it kind of from you. So we understand that you went to Turkey and then you went to Greece. So why Turkey and why Greece?
So my husband was getting ready to turn 40. So Matt was getting ready to turn 40 and we wanted to do a big birthday trip somewhere fun. And so he said, well, let's do Greece. That sounds like a good time. We looked at the same company that we used when we went to Egypt. So it was Memphis Tours, but I don't remember the exact name of the company. It was kind of like a brother, sister company to Memphis Tours. And what these tour groups do is they provide you someone who can take you around, the locals, of course, of those places, and they know all the good places to go. So we reached out to them to go to Greece, and we didn't plan on going to Turkey. Turkey was not, it was never on my bucket list necessarily. It was never on Matt's bucket list. But we went to Greece and they said, hey, would you like to go to Turkey as well as part of this trip? And we said, well, why? Like, why would we want to go to Turkey? What's the point? Why? They're like, well, it's a beautiful country. It's got a lot of culture. And it was only something like an extra $200 for our trip. So if you're going to not charge us that much and add another cool country to that, why not take it? So it just made sense to do Turkey and Greece together.
Yeah. I think that's so funny that you weren't even planning on going. Yeah, you're like, whatever. We'll try it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because incidentally, we both were expecting for Greece to be our favorite, and it was. It was beautiful, but Turkey ended up being a diamond in the rough that we didn't expect. I would go back in a heartbeat, and so would Matt. Like we would definitely go back in a heartbeat, and it was probably one of my favorite trips ever. Was Turkey, believe it or not?
Yeah,
that shocked me.
I feel like that's a theme that happens kind of often is where you don't expect to like a place as much as you do.
Yeah.
Right.
I like that description of like the diamond in the rough too, because and it's almost like because your expectations are kind of low.
Yeah, really, they were.
It surpasses because the bar was down here. And, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us about you went to Turkey first. So tell us about getting to Turkey. What was that like?
So getting to Turkey was pretty easy because the company puts everything together for you. So you kind of know what flights to take and whatnot. We ended up flying out of, so we used, it was British Airways, but it was also connected to American Airlines. And we ended up going through Philadelphia. I think we left out of maybe Columbia. It might've been Columbia. We went through Philadelphia and then we ended up in, what's the British airport? I can't think of the name right now. Heathrow, thank you.
Yep.
That was one of the places we stopped. So, but we went into Istanbul. We flew into Istanbul and we had a tour guide meet with us. Now, once again, when you have these locals, they don't always speak English. So for anyone traveling, you should definitely try to have Google Translate on your phone.
Yeah, make sure it's updated.
Exactly. Make sure it's updated. Google Translate is a really good one, but also having WhatsApp is really good because every time we've gone somewhere and we've had to have any kind of conversations with the locals and we don't speak that language, I don't know if WhatsApp changes the language so they can kind of converse with you, but WhatsApp is a really good app to have on your phone. So when you're traveling internationally. So we knew he held up his sign. And I will say I was surprised. So he held up a sign, he found us. I was surprised that a lot of these vehicles actually had Wi-Fi in them. So that was really nice. We get there and this tour guide and his only guide as the guide that day was to pick us up from the airport. Like he wasn't really taking us on any big trips. He was the one to pick us up and kind of transfer us to the hotel. So he comes, we have a driver, and then we have our tour guide, if you will. And so we started asking him, what are some things we can do in Turkey? Because Matt and we've never been there. I think it's Cappadocia. You can do like the balloon festival, but we weren't there for that year. And I think it's a different time in year than when we go.
Yeah.
And so we started asking him, and he was like, well, you could do this. You could, go to the bazaar, which is a big thing in Turkey. And he's like, and you can go to the Turkish baths. And we're like, oh, okay. What's the Turkish baths? Because I've heard of them, but I didn't really know what they were. And so he starts describing it. He's like, you go in and, you get laid down. It's very, I guess, a steamy room. And they essentially wash, you get washed. And, I'm like, oh, is this, you get naked and you get washed? He's like, yeah, you get naked. And
Like
so
a
I
sponge
remember
bath?
like a sponge, yeah, like a sponge bath. I'm like, so I'm thinking like, this sounds pretty intimate. So I looked over at Matt and I was like, this sounds like a great idea. And it was only going to be like an extra $50 or something a person. Once again, it wasn't anything very expensive, but it was an experience. Like when in Rome, or in this case, when in Turkey.
Yeah.
So I was like, we should do this. And, you get sponge bath. And so I looked at Matt. I'm like, I could lay you down in this nice place and sponge bath you. He's like, that could be nice. And the guy goes, no. Women have women room, men have men room. And I'm like, well, then who sponges who? And he was like, well, no, women. And personally, I don't care. Like, I would not be offended if a woman sponge bathes me. I don't really care.
Yeah.
But Matt was like, wait, I would go in the men's room and a man would sponge bathe me? And he's like, yes, that is how we do Turkish bath. Matt was like, nope, not going to do that. Nope, I'm good. And I'm like, come on, babe, it's only like he's like, nope, that's an experience I don't need to try. We're good. I was like, all right, okay. So he was not having it. But we found other things that we were able to do. Like I said, the bazaar. They dropped us off at our hotel. We ended up staying at the Marma Para Hotel. And it was nice. We had a hot tub. We had a beautiful sky view. So at night, it was gorgeous with all the lights. And there was a hotel next to us, and I can't remember the name of it now because it wasn't the Para, I don't believe. But the hotel next to us where the Orient Express was written. And so Matt and I went over and we had some coffee over there to say that we've done it.
Yeah.
So, and it was walking distance. It was literally right next door. So that was really cool. And they actually have a room that's roped off when you go there, which I guess was one of the rooms. Was it Agatha Christie, I believe? That Agatha Christie had gone and written it. And so you could go and look at it. It was really neat.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
So because Turkey was kind of like a last minute add-on,
Yeah.
if you will, to the trip, you guys didn't really do a whole lot of like research or
We really didn't because I'll be honest, I think I was being a little bit lazy in the sense that I usually do like to do a little research. I will say my brother and his girlfriend do better research when we go places. So kind of like when I was going to go to one country and I was like, I'm going to bring my bathing suit. And he's like, it is a mountainous region. You are not bringing your bathing suit. It's like, oh, okay. So I don't always do that kind of research. I wasn't expecting it.
You plan, you have pretty intricate itineraries.
Yeah.
So that's what I was kind of getting at is like, from what I've seen in the travel that we've done together, I know that you put time and energy in preparing for a trip. So it just kind of felt like maybe the Turkey was last minute.
It really
And
was.
so you were like, oh, well, if you guys are the tour guys, then you can tell us what to do, basically.
Yeah, like we were just like,
nice.
we'll do, and it was kind of nice. It did feel good because they did kind of break it down. Like we'll do these little things. I will say though, and I don't think a lot of people recognize this. I have heard of it that the Turkish people put on a really big breakfast spread. If you have never had a Turkish breakfast, you have to have one. We would go down into the lobby, and this wasn't. I mean, it was a nice hotel, but we would go down in the lobby, and it was beautiful. They had like chefs standing there, like cooking things. It was like fried cheese, and they had a whole spread. I mean, it looked like pure art of like all the fruits and the vegetables. It was just gorgeous. And I'm like, they eat a lot for breakfast. They had like tomatoes and cheeses. They even had like meats and cheeses, almost like charcuterie. But they had all types of stuff. It was gorgeous.
That sounds amazing.
Mhm.
It was.
And just speaking of like food in other countries, I'm not as well traveled like internationally, but like when we went to Costa Rica or we went to Peru, it was like immediately the first meal is already, it just feels like not heavy, and
Yeah.
it's like, just feels healthier. Was that the experience there? Was everything just like super fresh?
It was. It was
Ah.
so healthy. And, I think we confused our one tour guide at one point because when he took us to go look at the one palace, I think we may have offended him at one point because he took us into one of the restaurants on the palace grounds, and they brought us chicken and they brought us rice and they brought us all these different spices. And Matt and I we ate like a portion of it. It was good food, but it was a lot of food. And he was like, "Why are you not eating? Do you not like this?" I'm like, "No, we love it." And he's like, "But you're American." So I think the
he was
idea that
he was expecting you guys to eat like giant portions.
Yeah.
and he didn't want to say it, but you could tell that he was alluding to like fat Americans. Like, that's what they do. But yeah,
Overindulge.
no, exactly.
Yeah.
Overindulged. And it was so good. But there were certain things about Turkey that really were shocking to me. Like I said, with that and like Turkish coffee, I didn't know what that meant.
Oh.
Have you guys ever had a Turkish coffee?
With the grounds in it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so small, but it's almost like a shot of espresso. You're
Yeah.
like, oh goodness. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have strong coffee.
yeah.
That's how Costa Rica is too. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's funny when you go to a lot of like these countries where their culture is like a very like culinary centric. It's they want you to try the food and they want you to enjoy it, and so they just like keep bringing you food. And it's like they do kind of will get offended if you don't eat it all.
Yeah.
Because they also I think probably view us as like wasteful Americans.
Yeah.
They do. They really do, I'm sure. And, it's funny you talk about the food because incidentally, there's two different countries and two different meals I can ever remember where I'm like, if I could have that replicated, I would love that. And it was the pureed vegetable soup I got when we did the Ring of Kerry in Ireland. It was the best vegetable soup I've ever had. It was like pureed. I don't even know how to describe it. And spaghetti bolognese at our hotel in Turkey.
Yeah.
It was the best. I can't even describe it. But we went through. Our first day we did a little bit of a city tour and whatnot. They did take us to the bazaar. It's very overwhelming, very overstimulating.
Was the tour like a walking tour or like a bus?
So it was like, and it was individual too. I should have said that. So it was just Matt and me with our tour guide. So we didn't have like a group of folks
Very
with
intimate,
us.
and you could
Very
ask
intimate.
questions, go at your own pace. That's nice.
It was really, really nice. And with the bazaar, so we could go all throughout and it was inside a big building, almost like a mall, but there were so many, we
Like,
didn't get to see all of it. There,
like
by
an
any
indoor
means.
market kind of.
Yeah, but it was awesome. I mean, it was just really, really nice. It was done really well. And then they had apple tea we ended up getting, like tea bags. Apple tea is big over there. And then they call it Turkish Delight. It's like a candy. Makes me think of almost like taffy, kind of. So that's something that's really big over there. And then they have different flavors of the Turkish Delight. But
Yeah.
one thing that I really got there that I love and I still wear it today is my ring. I know you can't see it on. But this is actually called Zoltanite. So it's Zultanite, Zoltanite. And so you can only get it in Turkey. It's a stone that actually changes color. So it's rose right now, but then it'll most likely change to cognac. And then it goes to citron. So like a
Does it-
greenish color.
Does it change color over time or like?
It's just
kinda
like
In the
during the
light.
day, like
Yeah.
it could
Oh,
be,
yeah.
and it's not always even necessarily in the light. I might just be sitting there and it just kind of changes. And it's almost like you don't even see it.
Yeah.
It's strange, but it's from the Turkish mountains and it's named Zoltan, Zultan, after, it's supposed to be after Sultan or something. So
Yeah.
like the kings. And I started looking up like what that means for the Zoltanite, what the stone is supposed to represent. And it's supposed to represent like transitions and wealth and things like that. So I wear this all the time whenever I'm wearing silver jewelry. But so Zoltanite's really big, but it was relatively cheap. I think we paid like $25 for this ring. Relatively cheap.
It's almost like how Larimar, you can only get it in the Dominican.
Yep.
Yep.
It's like a rare stone.
I was gonna bring
Well,
that up.
it's rare, but it's also the popular stone there because it's
can only
You
source
can
it
only
there.
get it there. Yeah.
And you can probably, well, I think you could get some of it pretty cheap, right? When we were over the
Mhm.
DR, you could get that pretty cheap. So I was shocked when I'm like, $25, that's all we're paying for this ring. Because it was at an actual jewelry store, a beautiful jewelry store. It was in the window. And I remember seeing that. And our tour guide explained to us, oh, that's what this is. And so Matt ended up getting it for me. And it's one of my favorite rings that I wear. So there's not a lot of gems out there that necessarily change colors, but this was definitely a great purchase, a great find. Because one of the things Matt and I typically get when we go on any vacation or travel, we get a magnet from those places, and we get a tree ornament for our Christmas tree. So we do that. Matt will sometimes get T-shirts or whatever. I like to get scarves as well.
Don't you guys like to get a piece of art too?
We do like to sometimes get art. That is something we do. But with the scarves, I do try to do the scarves too, just because I can wear them with a really pretty dress, and I can say, this is something that was made over in. So in the bazaar, I got the Zoltanite ring as well as a really pretty scarf that was woven in Turkey, because apparently that's another thing that Turkey does really well is they actually do a lot of weaving. That's a really big thing over there. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
And as far as in the bazaar and when you're shopping in these areas and stuff, how are the vendors? Because
Mm.
you know as well as I know, like in Egypt, they're very pushy. They can be very, you know, aggressive.
Yeah.
Is that how they are in Turkey?
They are to a degree. Yeah. I mean, it's not terrible, but they are to a degree. That you're just kind of like, okay, settle down. Like some of the vendors had some of the same stuff, like when you go to any marketplace,
Right.
but then there were other places that were really nice. That you didn't have to worry about. So like when we went in and I got my scarf, I got it from, it's like a silk place. They do silk and weaving. And I remember the guy was showing us pictures. He's like, Hillary Clinton's come here and Bill Clinton's been here. And he's like showing us pictures of him. And he had it like in a booklet. We're like, oh, okay. He's like showing us all the famous people. But he
Right.
said that he had done, so the man who made my scarf, he had apparently done like, I want to say like not the rugs, the curtains for the White House.
Wow.
So yeah, so he's been commissioned to do curtains and rugs. Those are really big over there, curtains and rugs. That's something that the Turkish people tend to make a lot of, and I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
So
That's so cool. I love how you were like, I don't even really know about Turkey. And then you go there and you're like, oh my gosh, I learned so much.
I
Right.
did. It was,
Yeah.
it was so crazy too. I didn't realize they're big on fishing in the is it Bosphorus, I want to say. But they fish there, and there's got the little silver fishies. And so when Matt and I went, he took us around, all around. They have like, again, kind of like little bazaars and little places kind of around this area of water downtown in Istanbul. And I remember part of the tour, he was like, okay, we're going to stop at this restaurant. We're going to get, a meal that I've had that I'm going to have them make for you. We're like, that's great. And this is the same tour guide, so I feel so bad because after we barely ate anything at the palace, we turn around and he takes us to this restaurant, and they're very sweet and very doting on us. And then they bring us the meal, and it is a fish, a silver fish. The head was still on, and it was staring up at us. And I remember Matt and I just kind of looked at each other, and Matt likes fish. I'm not really a fish eater.
Yeah.
And Matt was like, yeah, I can't eat something that's staring at me. And like, I'm pretty sure we offended him. We didn't mean to. He's like, you don't like this? We're like, well, we don't. He's like, it's really good. We eat all of this. This is how we eat fish. And we're like, do you have any chicken or anything else? You got chicken tendies? Like, we had no idea. And I felt so bad because we didn't mean to offend him, but we're just like, we can't do it, man.
Yeah. Well, that's just.
You had a fish like that, right?
Yeah.
Where were you when you did that?
In Costa Rica.
In Costa Rica. But so I have also had relationships with people who are from Egypt, and they cook their fish like that too. So I was accustomed to, and I actually had a more intimate moment where like somebody taught me how to eat it.
Yeah.
Because that's what's intimidating is like, okay, the head's on it. I know you don't eat the head, but like, what do you do with it? But just in America, we're not used to being served fish that way.
We're not.
The head is almost never included.
You do see it at like Chinese buffets sometimes, though.
Sometimes.
See that.
But even you just saying like, well, you don't eat the head. I didn't even know that. I never, I was just like, do I do I eat the eye? I don't like, how does this work? Like, I have no idea.
I was taught, and I'm sure it's different, but I was taught that you grab the gills and you break the head off, and then you
Oh.
split the fish in half, and you kind of like pick the spine out,
Oh.
and it should all come out in one piece. It's actually like, if you know how to do it,
Yeah.
it's easy and easy to get started, but it's also very messy
Yeah.
because you have to use your hands.
Right.
Wow. That's crazy. Another thing Turkey does, you know, because you're kind of talking about like fish, and I'm just thinking of like also their animals over there. One thing they did, which I thought was really interesting, and I don't know why we don't do it here in the US or they don't do it in a lot of other countries, you would see a lot of dogs roaming the streets. And you would, of course, you know, if you're an animal lover like us, you're kind of like, oh, that's really sad. And our tour guide was like, no, don't be sad. Like, they're taken care of. Like, we chip them in our country. Like, they
Oh, they
actually
chip them.
they chip the
Wow.
homeless dogs. Yeah. And then they can, I guess, you know, if something has to get taken care of. And I think they do something where they do almost like a little clip of the ear or something too. I don't remember. I just remember him saying that like we chip our dogs, like all the homeless dogs. So they are actually taken care of. So when you see them roaming the streets, like they want to roam the streets. These are happy
Yeah.
dogs
Mhm.
that's something and I thought that's a great way to treat animals.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was something when we were in Peru. We were like,
Mm,
there were so many dogs
Yes.
just roaming around, but it's like they seemed super happy, and they also seemed well taken care of, because there's some that are just running around, and it's like, you know, that like that's probably not someone's dog, but
Yeah.
they're wearing pajamas.
I know I
Yeah.
saw it with the sweater.
Little
Someone like
sweaters.
making him a sweater. I was like, oh,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we talked about how they were like, they're like their own class of citizen, and
Yep.
you just don't see that in the U.S., which it's just so different here. And we have all of our dogs and cats mostly, especially in like the urban areas, are inside. So when they go outside, they don't know what to do. It's
Yeah.
like when you take an animal, you put an animal in captivity and then you release them, they can't survive. But like, they have street smarts there. You
Yeah,
know?
Yeah, their
that they
dogs
don't
are-
have here.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If your dog gets out here, it's an issue. It's like, oh no, they're gonna get hit by a car or something. Over there, it's like they just walk through traffic.
They
You
wait
know?
at the crosswalk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I will tell you, even with the traffic there in Turkey, it kind of reminded me of Egypt, where they'll just swerve all over and you're like, what is happening? They're very like closed in tight on the roads and you're almost scared. But yeah, we did actually we saw it. Matt was like, can you believe what just happened? I'm like, that was crazy. We drove by and there was actually a what is it, like when you get upset like in traffic,
Road
like a
rage?
road rage
Mhm.
The guy actually hopped out of his car and went and shot the guy. Like, we watched it happen as we're just driving by, and Matt and I are just like, what just happened?
Oh
It
my
was the
gosh.
craziest thing.
Wow.
He went like shot him, and I wouldn't think there would be much road rage over there, just
Right.
because once again, people in many of these other countries, they know how to drive. They're not like us,
Right.
where
Yeah.
you know, I mean, they can swerve, and I mean, I'm surprised at how they can swerve their buses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's shocking to me, but
Wow. So the guy got shot. and
Yeah,
you
he
guys
shot
saw
him.
it happen.
yeah, we watched it. Like, we were just driving by, like, see, it was just the craziest thing.
It's insane. And that's exactly why I just bringing it back home. I don't mess with road rage.
Yeah.
If you want to get upset, I'll be upset, but I'll be upset in my own car, and I will emotionally regulate. But I do not engage, because you never know.
Exactly.
You never know.
But they, you know, it was they did a really good job though. Like I said, with like all the driving, we weren't concerned for our safety. But yeah, I have to say, one thing I also really like that we don't do here in the US, but I wish we did, is one night Matt and I, when I had the spaghetti bolognese, we stayed the one night in the hotel. We came back from, you know, being out all day. And so we decided to sit there and watch TV. And of course it's all in like Turkish, right? But there was some English, and it was like CCTVs of whatnot, like happening of, you know, crimes that had happened, not just in Turkey, but in other countries. And then they had the BBC. So you actually knew what was happening in the United States. And it was actually kind of sad with the BBC and some of their other news stations. They would look at stuff happening in other countries, and it was stuff that it's like, oh, this is important foreign affairs, right? There's something, you know, this is what's going on with their politics, what have you. And then I'll never forget, you know, it switched to the United States, and it was a story about Kim Kardashian. And I was just so embarrassed, thinking, like, this is how Americans are looked. I mean, they
Yeah.
think of us as like, you've got politics and these smart people doing these things over here. America, Kim Kardashian. And I'm just like, this is not who we are. But I think that's how people perceive us in other countries.
Yeah.
Which makes sense why a lot of countries have the opinion that they do. If
Right.
That's the media that we're pushing out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think it's important that like when you may not feel this way, but when you travel to other countries, you're kind of representing where you're from.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always good to kind of like, I don't know, change people's overall opinion of Americans
Yeah, by
being
not
polite.
eating a full meal.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Now they're like, maybe Americans aren't necessarily,
Yeah, not
Yeah.
all Americans.
Are gluttonous.
Yeah, we're not all gluttonous. But, and it was interesting too that just the little things that I learned, I didn't realize that Turkish people kind of have not a thing against them, but they kind of almost like the North versus the South in the US. It's kind of like, we did this and we got that. And so, our tour guide was like, yes, and Turkey, it's not actually Greek yogurt. It's actually Turkish yogurt, but they just, Turkish, we don't call it Turkish yogurt because it's harder to sell. We can sell it as Greek yogurt. That's how the Greeks were able to get that name. And I was like, oh, he's like, they stole this yogurt from us.
Yeah.
What?
I
didn't
know.
that.
So,
And when you think, and Matt was like, that is true. No one's like, ooh, I can't wait to have some Turkish yogurt,
Yeah.
but Greek yogurt does roll off the tongue better. So he was like, we do that. And then he started talking about, it was really, I was surprised some of the things he would share. He did tell us where do you think most of the world's tulips come from?
Tulips?
Tulips, the flower.
I'm guessing Turkey.
Yeah.
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 But you would think it's Amsterdam, right? You
Right.
picture Amsterdam with like,
Yeah.
which in Amsterdam, that's where most of our diamonds come from. Apparently, Amsterdam is like the capital of diamonds. I didn't know that. I only knew that when I went to Amsterdam, and there's like a diamond museum and stuff. I always thought they came from South Africa, but
Well-
tulips are the big thing. So they get the tulips from Turkey.
That's kind of like how Georgia is known as the peach state. It's like their logo, and they're like, but we actually make more peaches in South Carolina.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just so crazy to me. But he was like, yeah, they've stolen so much from us. Like the Greeks have stolen certain things from us and called it theirs.
Well, the Greeks have stolen a lot of stuff. I mean, they stole a lot of their knowledge and stuff from Egypt, even. I mean, they did.
No hate on the Greeks.
No.
We do love the Greeks.
But how did you feel safety wise? Because I mean, when I think of Greece, I don't necessarily think of unsafe. I think of like Santorini and like nice, beautiful islands. But when I think of Turkey, because it is more Middle Eastern as opposed to like Mediterranean. How'd you feel like safety walking around the bazaars and stuff, despite being with a guide? I mean,
yeah, I think, and I will say, because I am a small woman, I'm 4'10", so like I do consistently have to worry about my safety a lot anyway. So anytime I'm with a man, especially my husband, I do feel much safer. But aside from the road rage, that incident, I will say I actually felt really safe. Just like Egypt, a lot of people think that Egypt might seem very dangerous. I felt safer in Egypt and Turkey than when I went to Ireland and we got robbed. I mean, like Turkey, I felt very safe. Like I wasn't concerned for my safety. I didn't think anyone was disrespectful. I had a really good time. And it was because I got to learn a lot about Turkish culture, but also they would tell us about Greek culture too, even down to like their drinks. They have a drink. It's called one thing in Greece, but it's another name in Turkey. And I can't think of the name. It's like Ozo or something, but it's got a different name in Turkey. It tastes like black licorice. It's I'll say Matt and I were not fans of it, but they did have some good drinks there. And it was pretty safe. I was never concerned for my safety. I will say one thing that really shocked me at one point, and I don't know what we could have said or done that kind of gave off some sort of vibe, but the one Turkish guide, because we had different guides each day, but the one Turkish guide, he sat there, I don't know, maybe because we're from America, but he's like, yeah, and that Trump, he's doing a great job. And he was telling us about our politics, and he was like, yeah, that President Trump, he's doing a great job. We need to get rid of immigrants. He was like, we were having that issue here in Turkey. And I was like, oh my, okay. I was not expecting this at all.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
yeah, he was talking about immigration. And I think, was it Albania that Turkey was getting like an influx of immigrants at that point? And so Turkey was having issues with their immigration. And so some of the Turkish population was looking to the United States, and they're like, that's what we need to do. We need to do a better job of closing our borders. And I was really shocked. I was like, huh, okay. I
Wow,
didn't,
that's
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it is funny, and to not get too political, but like we feel like a lot of people feel like here in the States that like the things that we deal with or that we talk about are like central to us only, but a lot of countries and I mean other every country has a border,
Yeah.
and we're not the only ones that like protect our border. Um, you know, I mean Mexico themselves have a border, and they don't just allow anybody to come in either.
Mhm.
So it's I think we get a lot of flack for that, and people feel like the rest of the world feels a certain way about us. But then when you do travel internationally, you go to a lot of other countries, and a lot of them feel the way a lot of the same way a lot of Americans do. So
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was shocking. I will say another thing that I thought was interesting with Turkey. There's something like 300 mosques in the country, which I thought was really neat. We did go to the Hagia Sophia, which was is a beautiful. So whenever you see pictures of Turkey, that's usually like the picture you'll see is the
hmm
Hagia Sophia. And you do have to dress up. Like you have to cover yourself up
hmm
even if you think that you're dressed modestly. Even as women, we have to cover our hair. So I had to make sure that I did that.
Yep.
And there are places around the mosques that you can even pay. I think some of them you pay and some of them might be free. And I don't remember. But you'll go up and they'll give you, it's a throwaway skirt that you put over your pants, a long skirt that can go over your pants, as well as a top and a thing to wear on your head. So when you walk into the mosque, you're being respectful as a woman. So we did that. And we did we got to go to various palaces. We did end up doing a tour. So we did a boat tour that took us on the Bosphorus, which
hmm
was really nice. And that's kind of, there's something between, it's somehow Turkey, like one side of the Bosphorus is like it it belongs to some other country. And the other side, I want to say like one side is considered like Asia and the other side is considered, I don't know, like the United Kingdom or something. But I forget how it's built. But the
Yeah.
Bosphorus is supposed to be, if you look across one side is one area and the other side is another area. So we did that during the day. And then we were able to do a thing like a boat tour later in the evening. So Matt and I paid money and we went on this boat tour. We sat across from, we ended up getting an American who was there on the boat tour. And she was an American who was actually a teacher in Cairo.
Oh, wow.
And so she brought her son to Turkey as like his birthday or whatever. But they fed us. It was really, really good. They fed us, but they were long tables. So you were sitting next to a stranger necessarily. And then afterwards, you would go upstairs up to the top of the boat, and they had music and they had belly dancers. And then the bridge, when you go through the Bosphorus, it lit up. So it lights up. So it's kind of like how when you go to Paris, how the Eiffel Tower lights up at night, like
Yeah.
the bridge lights up. It was just beautiful. So it's just a really nice, fun time to really get to learn more about the Turkish culture.
Yeah, that's cool. And when you say boat, is that like a sort of like a river boat
Oh
or
yeah,
like a
yeah, I should say
cruise?
that.
Like
So
how
yeah,
big is it?
so kind of like if you've ever been on, well, you have been on the riverboat in New Orleans,
Mm-hmm.
where there's a downstairs where people can eat, and then you kind of come up, and they've got like all, and they had drinks flowing and everything, and we ended up meeting a couple, and it was very strange. It was a couple and their daughter, Ruta. That was her name, Ruta, and they were from the Ukraine, and they had come on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
The mother and the father, they're all Ukrainian. Ruta actually spoke English. She spoke it quite well. In fact, she's Harper's age. At that time, I want to say she was 9 years old.
hmm
And she spoke well. And her mom was an English teacher in the Ukraine, but her dad didn't speak any English. I don't know, but Ruta got up and her parents were cool with Ruta and Matt and me. We were all getting up and dancing to the music and just having a really fun time. And we ended up befriending them on Facebook. Like,
That's fun.
yeah. So Ruta's mom, she's usually one of my, people who gives me a thumbs up when I post pictures and
Yeah,
stuff. And,
that's so fun. Like the
yeah, she's
connections
really
that you
sweet.
make.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, and some of our tour guides we actually keep in touch with, and we add them on Facebook or whatever. So we do have some of those folks that we're still connected to. Should we travel again?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Uh,
that's
It was
awesome.
fun. Yeah, the Turkey trip, like I said, totally. expectations, like you said, Megan, like I had none, and totally one of the best trips.
Yeah.
And I guess Moses has his staff there. We
Wow.
didn't go check
Wow.
out the Moses staff because the line was too long. We were just not having that. That was at one of the palaces. But yeah, it's just so much history. It was just a
Mhm.
really, really good trip.
Yeah.
Really good trip.
Yeah.
And so, as far as Turkey and Greece are close geographically, but I mean they're very different culturally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, there are some things that you're like, oh, I can see how how they're kind of connected. You're like,
Mhm.
this makes sense. But yeah, they were two different experiences, but still kind of the same in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I think that was a perfect combination of Turkey and Greece. If I could have done another country with Greece, I don't think I would have wanted another country. I think Turkey was a really good trip for that. So
Mm-hmm. Okay.
yeah, we were only there for like what, 3 days. And then we departed for Istanbul. We did take a plane that time, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
to go from Turkey to Istanbul. But then once you get to Greece and you want to hit up the other islands, you don't take a flight.
Right.
Yeah.
So you flew from Turkey, from Istanbul, right?
Yeah, so
Into
Istanbul
Greece.
into Greece.
And
That
where'd
was
you
the first
fly
one.
into Greece?
And where? Oh, we flew into Athens.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a friend who went to Greece, and she said that they're kind of like a little strict there. There was certain medications
Mhm.
that she was prescribed here, like because she doesn't fly very well, so
Yeah.
it might have been like a Valium or something like that that she had to go there, but then she was not allowed to have it there. So
That makes
there was
sense.
something about like not having it on the way back, and they're like pretty strict on like
Mm.
drugs coming in.
Dang.
So that's just one thing I didn't even think about is like when you're traveling to a different country, you have to look up their laws because just because it's legal in the US does not mean that it's going to be legal and that you're able to have it there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Any medicine you're on, that is a good point because you don't think like that necessarily.
Yeah.
You just think, oh,
No,
well, I
my
should be able
doctor
to take
prescribes me
Yeah,
this.
so I'm
and-
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
a good point.
Yeah, and looking up the laws is a good idea too, because I've
Mhm.
seen plenty of videos of Americans over in these other countries in like Saudi Arabia, and they'll be like arguing with the police or whoever, and they'll be
Mhm.
like, "It's my First Amendment right," and
Yeah.
it's like you're not in the U.S. You don't have
don't
that, and
I know. It's crazy. And they're like, I don't understand. I defaced something or I ripped down a poster. Why am I going to jail? And it's
Yeah.
like, well, they don't play the way we play in America.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you got to be careful in these countries. And I think that's one thing that I would hope that more Americans would really start, taking into consideration. Don't go over to these countries and act in a disrespectful manner.
Right.
Like even when we were in Egypt, I remember the Tomb of King Tut. It specifically said, do not take pictures.
Right.
Like you could get arrested. They actually had police officers walking around and you still saw people like sneaking pictures. And I thought, I am not
Yep.
trying to be stuck in an Egyptian prison. Like, why would you do that to
Yep.
yourself? But if you do it to yourself, you've done it to yourself,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a famous YouTuber who is currently in prison in the Philippines because he was making videos over there and he was just being disrespectful and like, harassing people and stuff. Thinking, here in the States, you might get a fine or something. And over there, they threw him in prison and he's doing like 20 years.
Wow. I
Yeah.
mean, but once again, like you and Megan noted, like you got to know these laws. You need to have some idea of what you can and can't do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we don't we don't actually, if we're going to say we're going to go to whatever country and we don't like, oh, let's go look up the laws. Because just in general, like you said,
Right.
just don't be disrespectful. Just use your common sense and
Yep.
be a decent human. Yeah.
Yeah, I will say, yeah, and I didn't feel like tipping culture was as big of a deal over in Turkey the way it is in the US. I just remember coming out of the bathroom in Egypt and every time people would have their hand out, like even in the airport, that was not the case in Turkey.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what the conversion rate was, just like roughly?
So, I don't remember the exact conversion rate, but I will tell you this. This is what was shocking. So in Turkey, we were like living like kings and queens. It was really good. The US dollar over in Turkey gets very far, very, very far. I feel like it was like for $1 was considered like $25 over there or something. So, but it was a really good, but then you go to Greece and it's like, no, it's pretty much 1 for 1, or it might be a little bit more like for the Greece being over in Greece.
That's what I've heard too. Is that
Yeah.
Greece is expensive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Turkey was not. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Well, and that's what kind of Greece what we felt like in Costa Rica too. Like it's one of the more expensive countries down in Central America.
Oh, okay, I didn't know
So
that.
it was well, like
It was
one
still,
to 1 to 4. It was
yeah.
cheaper. I don't know if that's like the right word or whatever, but it your dollar felt like it went a little bit further, but it
Mhm.
still kind of felt like I don't know. I'm spending the same amount of money if I were to like stay in the States.
Yeah. No, it didn't feel like that in Turkey. Like you really got your money's worth, hands
Hmm.
down. And that's why even with us being there only about 3 days, that shocks me because it felt like we were there longer in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
So we always had something to do. We were always busy. We were always going and doing something there. So
Hmm.
it
Yeah.
it was really nice.
Yeah. So he flew into Athens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And
Can you pull it up a
Yep.
little bit?
Sorry.
See. No, you're fine.
and Greece is obviously full of history, ancient history. So I'm assuming you guys went and saw a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, so we did. So we did fly into Athens, and we stayed at a hotel in Athens called the Titania Hotel. And at the top of the Matt wanted when they gave us choices of hotels to stay in when we were putting together everything, Matt thought when we did our research on the different hotels that they gave us, he said, "This is so funny." He thought it was the funniest. So at the top of the hotel, there was a restaurant called the Olive Garden. He's like, "We could be eating at the Olive Garden, but it's not the real Olive Garden. It's in Greece." I'm like, "All right." So yeah, we went and we ate at the Olive Garden, and it
That's
wasn't
funny.
like our Olive Garden.
No, like unlimited breadsticks.
Yeah, it wasn't. We're not soup, salad, and breadsticks. Nope. It was like it was like steak, but it was a really high end restaurant because it was a really nice hotel we stayed in. Um, and then we ended up getting there and we got our room. We got to see the Acropolis. We had that view from our hotel room, which was really nice.
Yeah.
So we got to, meet our tour guide who we would be with, and he was going to be with us all throughout Athens. So we were able to check in and kind of, go do our thing for a little, but it was kind of like it was a travel day, so we didn't want to do too much that day.
Right.
So then the next day we did our Athens tour. So we went and we looked at everything. So we went to the go see Olympian Zeus. We saw the National Library, the Academy, and I would tell you the National Library. This is what I will say freaked me out. So we did go see the old Parliament, and I actually at the National Library. That's where I got this bag. So this is Athena, which I love. Athena, she is my goddess. She's the god of war, I think, right? But also wisdom. And so we went to we went to one of the museums. Um, and I think I was sharing with you guys earlier, as you walk in, it freaks you out because if you're someone who's like me, I'm kind of scared of heights. I'm not really a big fan of heights, right? And so you walk in and you look down. People did a double take. It was funny watching people from afar do it, but they would walk in and they would stop as they're getting ready to go into this museum, and they would stop and then they would walk back, and either they would walk over it or they would be like Matt and I did. They would walk around it. So the floor was like this plexiglass. So you could see down into the ground from them doing excavation. And it just freaked me out. And there were
Mm-hmm.
places like that I was like, yeah, I'm not feeling this. This freaks me out.
Yeah.
But this was a day that there was a lot of walking. There was so much walking.
Yeah.
It was,
I
yeah.
I also have an aversion to heights. We were just talking about this because I don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
I never used to be like that when I was little, but a couple years ago we went to the Tybee Island lighthouse. So you like climb up the
Yeah.
lighthouse and you go out on the edge and like there's a railing, and it's honestly not that high. It's maybe like 100 feet, which is high, but and I got up there and I stepped out and I couldn't breathe.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, and so I had to like kind of hang by the wall. And then as I was able to like kind of calm myself and like be okay. But it was just the weirdest thing. I was like, I don't
Yeah, this would
understand what I'm
freak you out.
feeling. Yeah, I probably would not.
You'd be walking around it like us.
Yeah,
So
like,
bad.
I don't
Yeah.
trust this plexiglass.
Yeah, I'm not playing that game. I mean, but we did get to go see everything. And then they showed us like the Nike, because that's where Nike comes from, like the idea of, the different Greek gods and everything like that. But there was one point where, and he did take us to the tomb of like the unknown soldier in Athens, and we got to watch the whole thing. So they do like this whole setup ceremony. with actual Greek soldiers. And so they did this, and it was interesting because we actually met a couple there. I saw a woman wearing a hat with the palmetto tree and the South Carolina symbol, and here they were from Charleston. It was
Oh,
the
Wow.
craziest thing. It was really cool.
Small world, huh?
yeah.
Yeah. Athens was fun. But like I said, at one point, Matt and I had already paid because we had paid. I think we paid because when our guy met us at the hotel, we already had like an itinerary of other things we were going to do. But he was like, if you would like, I can have us do XYZ as well. We can do that. It'll just be an extra, like, I think $100 or something. And at that point, when you pay for a trip up front, at that point, like, there's going to be added expenses. You're like, I don't care.
Yeah. I call that, it's like trip math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, because you're like, I
It's
already
already
paid all
paid
this money.
for,
It's already
yeah.
paid for. We're good. So we're like, sure, let's do this. So he was going to take us on this special tour that went beyond like what was on the itinerary. And it was so hot. So we saw the Parthenon, we saw the Acropolis, we saw it all. And it was so hot. Matt and I were dying. And it was funny to me because Matt was me. He's like, I know we paid the money, but like, can we go back to our hotel? Like, I'm dying. Like, this is like, I'm done walking. Like, I'm done walking. And so we went up to him. We're like, we are so sorry. Like, we can't go to some of these things because like we're tired. Like this. I was like, this man just turned 40, and he was like, oh, I get it. And so he was like, is it something I've done? We're like, no, no. And so he's like, I'll pay you back. Like he was going to refund us. Like, no, we don't want you to refund us. Keep the money because it's not your fault.
Yeah.
And so he was really grateful for that. He's like, are you sure? We're like, no, keep the money. Like it's not your fault. We appreciate all your enthusiasm. And he was like, well, let me take you somewhere else. At least, one other place. All right. So he took us down this street. There's a street like in Athens, and I don't remember the name of it, but they've got like vendors and all that other stuff, but it's a street like it's cobblestone and you can't drive vehicles on there. Like you can't drive, and that's actually where I got this scarf, like down one of those roads. And what's crazy about it is we're watching people move into apartments and buildings like on the street. And I'm thinking, how did they do this? Without being able, they couldn't bring any vehicles down. They're like, you're not allowed to. It's like I guess it's illegal. But he took us to go get shawarma and kind of try that at a place that had like lamb, and we did gyros and all the other stuff. And it was really, really good. He's like, I just have to take you to do this. So we did that, and we tried some drinks, the ouzo or whatever the Greek drink is. It was really good. The food, not necessarily the drink, but that was really surprising that we were able to kind of do all that. We were not expecting that. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So it was like one or two. Did we do 2 days? I think we did 2 days maybe in Athens. But probably one of my favorite things, and I'm going to suggest this from here on out for anywhere you go. So Matt and I are going to be looking up in other countries because they do in other countries. There's this thing called Dinner in the Sky that you can do. And it was something, I will admit, it was a bit pricey, but once again, travel math,
Yep.
right? I think we paid for this up front before we even left the US. It was like something like $250 a person. But we were in Athens. We got all dressed up at this point, and Matt and I went to a thing called Dinner in the Sky, and the Uber drove us to this place. And when you look at the place, it looks kind of sketchy because you're like, these are some we're like in an urban area. Like, what is this? But you get there and you can take pictures there and everything. You do like the hashtags. They even have like their Instagram handles and all that fun stuff. But what they do is it's a platform where it's like a big rectangle. And in the middle of it is where like the chef and the bartender are. And these seats that you're in around this, table, it's like you and other people, but these seats that you're in, think of it almost like individual seats, like if you're on a ride for like a roller coaster or something. And they actually strap you in. And, which is probably good because they feed us so much alcohol, but they strap you in, and then it's a crane, and you look over and you're like, how is this going to lift us up? But a crane picks it up, and you actually like, you're eating dinner in the sky. Like you're up so many feet. And it was nice because we got some of our best pictures that way.
Yeah.
So they gave us it was like a 3 or 4 course meal. We had alcohol flowing. They had desserts. It was really good. And they had music playing. And that's why the Sky Full of Stars, or that Coldplay song, that was one of the songs they played. And I'll always remember that. And so we were actually able to look at, I think it was the Acropolis, or I think it was Acropolis.
The Colosseum.
Colosseum. Thank you. I'm sorry. It was the Colosseum. And so some of our best pictures actually came because like the the sun was coming down, and we're going up and we're like taking pictures like in the sky of the Colosseum. It was the coolest thing. So
So cool.
yeah.
So I'm trying to imagine like how big the thing is. It's everything, like everything that they need for the dinner and everything can go up at one time.
Yep.
And everybody, you're up there together with like
Yep,
people
you're
that
up
are
there with
serving you.
strangers sitting next to you. I had Matt on one side of me, I had a stranger on the other. And you guys can talk to one another, which is nice, but like they have the plates set out and whatnot already. And I think they have maybe hors d'oeuvres or whatever. I think we had hors d'oeuvres down on the ground initially, or just something, probably charcuterie or something. But when we got there, the chef did make our meal and it was really good. I mean, you you the food was good, but that's not why you do it.
Yeah,
You
it's
do
the
it for the experience. Yeah, like you weren't like, "Oh, that was the best dinner I've ever had." You go and you do it for the experience.
Yeah.
So, I really would like to go do that again in other countries. So that's
Yeah.
the goal to look. But they do have it in other countries. Typically, it's going to be our countries that have a lot of touristy type stuff. So I would think there's probably something in certain parts of maybe Italy. I think there's one in Italy. They do the dinner in the sky in Rome, I want to say. So
Is
that's
it
something to check out.
is it like windy out there?
It wasn't. It wasn't bad at
No, it's
all.
like
It
nice.
was very nice. Yeah, it was a really good time.
Huh.
And so while you're taking pictures up there, would it have been possible to drop your phone?
Probably, yeah. Well,
You
I
have
mean,
a table in front of you?
you have a table in front of you, yeah, but and you have like a floor underneath you.
Oh, okay.
So if you dropped it, would probably drop on the table or maybe like down by your feet, and then obviously someone would have to come get it for you or whatever. Um, but yeah, no one had an issue with dropping their phone, which once again is surprising considering the fact that people are drinking. Like they had like alcohol flowing.
So you're seated and strapped in the whole time. You're not
Yep.
like allowed to stand up.
No,
or...
no,
So if you have to go to the restroom, they have to take you back down?
no. They tell you to do all that stuff before you go. Hopefully, you don't have IBS. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and because
That's a good question.
I know
that is a really good question. Yeah,
if you're drinking, you're probably have to go to the
Yeah.
bathroom.
that's true. That's a good point.
Wear a diaper.
So when you go do dinner in the sky, wear your diaper.
Yep.
That's funny.
And then, yeah, so what they did then for us, which was shocking to me because we got tickets. They gave us tickets when we got over there, once we got to Greece. And it was our tickets to go from here, there, and everywhere. So we pictured going to the airport to go from Athens to Mykonos and then Santorini. Like that's what we expected. And so our tickets, I think it was something like I was in 3E and Matt was in like 3F. So we knew we were sitting next to each other. And so our Uber takes us, we take all our stuff because at this point we're traveling from Athens now. So we're getting all of our stuff and we're actually staying at the other places. So we gather up our gear or, luggage. And so we pull up, but it wasn't an airport. It was like a shipyard, which was really strange to us. Almost like if you were going on a Caribbean cruise, like a, Carnival cruise or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what is this? And it was the craziest thing because it was this huge ship, but underneath they put all your luggage, but they also had cars they drove onto it because
Oh.
that's how people went from
Like a ferry.
Athens. Yeah, it was like a ferry, but it was
Yeah.
a huge one.
Yeah.
And when you went upstairs, it did look almost like an airplane, but you could get up and move around. And it was nice. They had like a nice little lounge area. The seats were nice. I want to say they were leather. I mean, it was just very nice. And the way that they do it is, so you thought you were getting on a flight, but they do act like it is like an airplane and stuff like that too. They do, you have to be very respectful on there. But then at one point they'll be like, okay, we need people to start going downstairs. You're going to get downstairs. And then when when your island comes up, then you'll have to get off. And that's when you'll know because they'll call. So you at some point go down, like everybody's down there because, such and such island was just called. And I mean, this is a huge, huge ship. We're talking like there's probably thousands of people on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll go down and you're down there with your luggage. So you go find your luggage in, the different areas because they have it sitting up in like different areas.
Yeah.
And so we find our luggage and they're like, okay, it's almost your time. So you're standing there with your luggage, just waiting for the ship to stop. And they're just like, okay, Mykonos. But a lot of these islands sound alike. So you're just like, did they say Mykonos? What did they just say? I don't know. Like some of the islands do actually sound very similar. So Matt and I almost didn't get off on the right island
Oh no.
Yeah, but we were able to get off on the right island, but they do the stop and then you get off and then,
Do
they
they
show
not
that.
check? Do you have like a ticket or something that they check when you're exiting?
They do have a ticket. I think they might have someone around like the door when they pull it down because I think that's what Matt and I had to do because we're like, did they say Mykonos? And so
Can you
like,
please make
excuse
sure
me.
we're going to the right place?
Yeah, no, exactly. I was like, which are we right? And they're like, yeah, you're good. So they had to like let us know, like, no, you're good. Because I'm sure we're not the first ones. Because like I said, some of the islands do sound very similar. So a lot of people could really get messed up because especially if they have like some sort of accent, which wouldn't be an accent to them, but it's an accent to us.
Yeah.
So we were able to do that, and then we got into Mykonos, which was beautiful, and so was Santorini, but Mykonos was really nice.
Yeah. Would you say that was your favorite area of Greece? Your favorite island?
I mean, I I did really like it a lot. I will say that much. I have this. Yeah, I would have to say because we stayed at a place called the Yanaki Hotel, and so they had these nice little bags that you could take. We asked permission, but they say Yanaki Hotel, Mykonos, and so it was really nice. We stayed at this hotel, and it was beautiful. I didn't. I think I liked it better than Santorini. Yeah, Jared, I would agree. Yeah, I liked it better than Santorini. We stayed at the hotel, and then we were within walking distance of along the beach. They had all of these beautiful little restaurant things that you could go to. They had some tent things, but they had different things where you could have they call it shisha.
Mm-hmm.
So you did the hookah, you could do the hookah.
We know all about shisha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did that. They did the hookah. But they weren't like pushy, which was nice. They weren't pushy. But the best alcoholic beverage I've probably ever had anywhere when traveling abroad was in Mykonos. And it's called the Porn Star.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called the Porn Star. And it's like a puree of like passion fruit or something. It's really, really good. So I kept ordering those like
Yeah.
they were going out of style.
Bottomless porn stars.
Bottomless Porn Star, so good.
Just think about that one for a second, everybody.
Oh my god.
It was the best. It was so tasty. But yeah, it was really good. But there was the nice beach. So they had the nice beach there. But we stayed at the really nice hotel. But then we also had things scheduled for us. So I know we did. So we did do when we first got there on July 17th. That was actually Matt's birthday. So so we actually have pictures of us. We went down and sat in kind of like the chairs out by the pool. And so we took pictures of us down there having drinks. But then we ended up we stayed there and then we explored like the island and all these other things that we got to check out. And we had drinks. This is one thing I said, we have to do this. We have to do this. So I think it was like a summer or two prior. I was watching because I love reality TV. And there was a show and it was about Lindsay Lohan's beach club in Mykonos. And so the whole premise of the show was just, these people are all staying in a house together. They were the people who were like the bartenders and the chefs and the waitresses. And so it was almost kind of like picking them off one by one. Do I want to keep you to be, representing me, Lindsay Lohan, at my beach house? So because I saw that, I was like, we have to go to the beach house. You don't go to Mykonos and not go to Lindsay Lohan beach house. So we ended up going to the beach house. I was so excited. And it was really funny. So it's called the Lohan Beach House. And they brought us the menu and wow. So first there was like nobody there. I mean, literally, there's pictures of me like on a beach chair. There was literally no one there. It was crazy. I was really surprised by that.
Yeah.
Like, and it was like a nice day too. Like this is in the summer. We're talking July 17th. This is in the summer. So we went there and then we went into the restaurant where I think I had a porn star there too. I don't remember if I had a porn star there, but we went into the restaurant and I think the meals were super expensive. So Matt and I are like, let's just have some drinks and an appetizer.
That's why nobody was there.
That's exactly. It's probably why nobody was there. I got pictures by like the Lindsay Lohan sign. And I asked the people, so I didn't steal. I did ask. I'm like, hey, can I have one of these menus? Is that okay? And they're like, yeah, you can have one of the paper menus. So I took one of the menus, with their permission. And I had my girlfriend make me like magnets and ornaments out of some of my stuff from Greece. And so she made me a magnet this is actually from the Lindsay Lohan menu. This is from the Lindsay Lohan menu.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's got the LL and then it says Beach House Mykonos. So I can say that I've been there. That was a big deal to me.
That was cool.
That's
Yeah.
like when I was in LA and I went to, what was that other stupid show you used to watch?
Vanderpump. That's
Yeah, and I
right.
took a picture of the.
Ah,
I didn't go in, but I took a picture of the restaurant.
I was so jealous. I would have gone with you and had an appetizer like goat cheese balls or something. But it was really cool. But then we ended up doing. I'm trying to think if we did the. Was it? I think if you go, what we did, we did the Lindsay Lohan thing, but we also ended up doing a tour. I think this was kind of a last minute thing that we just did because we saw or someone had mentioned it. Because once again, these tour guides, they're obviously one of the things they do is, you guys have traveled, so if you're a tour guide and one of your buddies owns a restaurant or one of your buddies owns something, they're like, hey, would you be interested in doing this? So there's this place called Tour in Mekonian Island and wine tasting. They took us, it's like a family owned company. So they took us and it was funny. I went, I had my sorority hat, my Phi Mu hat. So I don't remember. I don't think I might have been wearing it, but we went on this tour and they showed us around and then they bring us back to, sit down and you have some of these Greek men sitting around watching like soccer on the little screen and they're sitting there and they're drinking the wine and they're eating, charcuterie or whatever. So you come back and they give you all these wines to taste. It was really nice. But then the owner, the young guy who now took it over for his family, he sits down with us and he comes and his girlfriend comes. She was very sweet. She and I became friends on Facebook then. But, we're sitting there and he pulls out like this, they start playing music for us while we're drinking wine. And so they start playing music. He has like this piece of, instrument that was made out of like a goat's belly or something. And he's like playing it and it was really cool. And then for some reason, I don't even remember how I got into this conversation with the girlfriend because she spoke, some good English. And she saw my sorority hat and she was like, oh, Femi. And I was like, what? I was like, no, we call it Phi Mu. She's like, no, it's called Femi here in Greece. Like, oh, I did not know that.
Hmm.
And I ended up giving her the hat and being like, you can wear, and technically you're not supposed to have non-members wear your letters.
Right.
But I'm like, we're in Greece. Like,
Yeah.
come at me, right?
She
Yeah.
deserves it.
Yeah, she deserves it. And she was very sweet. And so I explained to her, she's like, what is it? I hear about Americans. And so she was interested to learn about how we do things with college and Greek life. And
Yeah.
so at the end, I was like, here, have this hat. And she's like, really? She thought it was so cool. I was like, you can be my honorary sorority sister. And she just thought that was the coolest thing. And so
Oh,
she
yeah.
actually took a picture of herself wearing the hat and sent it to me then. She's like, sister, how are you?
Oh,
So
that's
very,
sweet.
very sweet. Yeah, she was so sweet. But it was such a fun time. We did and there's more than enough wine tours to go around that you can do. This one was kind of off in the middle of nowheresville, but we did other tours. So it was crazy,
Yeah.
but it was fun.
I'm starting to realize that having guests on this podcast is dangerous because now all I want to do is go places.
Greece and Turkey.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you guys should go. Let's all go together. I promise it'll be fun.
Well, if you went back, I mean, these are people that you could get a hold of and see again, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
We would love that. Yeah, some of these folks are really, really cool. And they had so much information to offer. It didn't feel like you were being given like a history lesson, right? It
Yeah.
felt like, wow, they genuinely love their country. They genuinely have a lot of pride. Like our tour guide in Athens, he'll tell you, he's like, Greek people are very proud of their country. He's like, kind of like how a lot of Americans are. He's like, we are very prideful of our country. So
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice those like experiences that you can have with the locals that aren't necessarily on your itinerary per se, and you end up learning so much
Yeah.
just with those connections and those conversations.
Because like I said, we were not expecting that one. Like we were not expecting that wine tour. It just somehow came out. And one of the best parts of our trip, hands down. Like
Yeah.
this is a 40th birthday Matt will never forget.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it was a big number. So
Amazing. So you spent time in Mykonos and then you went to Santorini, and Santorini is like the classic, like when you think of Greece with the
Oh,
white
yeah.
buildings and the blue domes.
The
on top.
Mediterranean coast.
Yeah.
oh yeah. It's interesting because we ended up doing so I talked about the wine tour in Mykonos, right?
Mm-hmm.
Santorini, we did another wine tour. For fear of sounding like an alcoholic, this was just supposed to be like a big, like, this is something that they offer. And, it was suggested to us. We're like, sure, let's do that. But with Santorini, and we did get pictures of other buildings that were there, which was really nice. But we went on a tour this time, on another wine tour, and this one was with other people. So the one in Mykonos, Matt and I just did on our own. We got our little Uber out there, we did our thing, and we had a good time.
And it was just you and like the family there?
Yep, just
Okay,
us.
So no other people doing the tour.
I think there was one group. There was one group of like 2 women. I think they seemed like best friends or something like that. And I believe they were American as well.
But it was like small and intimate.
But yeah, like when we sat down, like they sat at their own table, we sat at our own. Like there was no real, not that we didn't want to talk to them. It was just, doing our own thing.
Yeah.
With this tour, so we went to Santorini, and I will say they have like kind of like a club life. It was so funny. So they have this really nice area where you can go shopping along the water. It's beautiful. So Matt and I had dinner out there and everything. And they even had a club. And it was so funny. There was like maybe one person in the club, but it's like you hear all this music. So Matt and I just sat outside, and drinking our porn stars. But one thing I noticed in Greece, and I think we saw it in Turkey too, and I always joke, like if I'm ever going to buy stock in anything, I'm going to buy stock in Pringles, because Pringles are all over the world.
Yeah.
They had, and it was the funniest thing. Because they have the different, flavors. But when we were in Greece, they had, and I'm pretty sure I took a picture of it. We got Pringles, and it was called New York Cheeseburger. And I'm like, I don't
What
even
is that?
Yeah, what exactly?
New
I'm
York
like,
isn't even known for cheeseburgers.
that's exactly. I was like, if it would have said New York pizza, I'd been
Yeah.
like, that makes sense, right? It was like New York Cheeseburger. And I think they just took American things and just threw it together.
Yeah.
And I was
that's
like,
hilarious.
okay. It was so funny. And then they did one with like prawn. It was like another country, but it was like shrimp prawn or something. It was the craziest thing. So if you're ever going to buy stock, buy it in Pringles, because that's, yeah. But so we did that. We went down there, but this tour that Matt and I went on like the next day, we turned around and we were with other people. And so this was a great way to continue celebrating his birthday. But we went to these different little tours. And we did go to the one, I believe. So this is what you picture when you picture Santorini. That's like, that's what you
Yeah.
picture. But when we did go, we ended up going to one of the places, and it was called the Canava Russos. I think this was another family-owned winery. I made that to a magnet. But it was another family-owned winery. And so we hit up all these different ones. And then we ended up doing one where you go down, and it's almost like a cellar, but it's on the side of a mountain. So you're looking down in the water, and it's blue. It's just beautiful and blue. So it was probably one of the best. And then, so as part of the tour, they took us to these wineries. But the last bit of the tour, we ended where we went down like on the side of this mountain or whatever, looking into the water. And we had a dinner there. They set up a dinner for us. So that was a really nice touch to it. That was a really fun part. So like, if you want the history and you want to do the walking tours and all those fun things, Athens is where it's at. You can't go to Greece and not go to Athens. Like, you have to go to Athens.
Right.
But there's other islands. Matt and I said, we'll go back to Athens. We'll hit up the other islands too. That sounds like fun. I mean, Santorini and Mykonos seems like one of those ones like you definitely want to try.
Yeah.
But there are other islands that we would absolutely check out too.
Well, it seems like wine was kind of an ongoing theme in Greece, which makes sense because even the ancient Greeks drank wine, and part of their kind of like in a ritualistic way. So it's interesting.
It is part of the culture, really.
Right.
So, and I mean, don't get me wrong, they did have wine and stuff, obviously, in Athens too, and it was funny. We ended up stopping in a bar in Athens, and we met one guy who went to Ohio State, I want to say, because he was wearing his hat. We're like, that's so funny. Small world, because we're Penn Staters. So we see that, we're like, oh, Ohio State sucks. But it was cool. But we made friends like in these bars, and we were talking to people. And that's when our guy, was like, hey, do you want to try these different types of flavors? They had different types of flavored alcohol.
Yeah.
Really, really good. But so there was some alcohol, and it was a fun time, but more of the, learning about the country and learning about the history. That's more of your Athens tour.
Right.
I mean, because that's your capital, I believe.
Right.
But the islands are just like, I'm hanging out on the beach having wine in my hand, or a porn star, like that's what I'm doing. And I'm, smoking the hookah. Like that's what you're doing on the islands.
Right. So would you say the islands were a little more like laid back?
Yeah, they were more laid back in terms of like a lot of things. So if you're wanting if you want to go somewhere where you're learning about the culture, you're doing all these things, absolutely. Istanbul, Turkey, Athens, Greece. if you're like, I just want to lay by a beach
Mm.
and I don't want to do a beach here in the US, those were beautiful
The Greek
beaches to be
islands.
on. They
Right.
were so nice.
And as
Yeah.
far as the food in Greece, is the food on the islands at all different from in Athens, or is it pretty much all the same Greek food?
They had a lot of the same Greek food. I will say one thing that Matt and I, because I tend to have the palate of a toddler, so I do like to, if I can't find anything else, if they have spaghetti, I'm like, I'll take that. I'll do spaghetti. You can't mess up
Pasta.
spaghetti. But they did a lot of times. There were things with cheeses. I like cheeses that they have over there. And in fact, speaking of spaghetti, one of the restaurants we went to that was like along in Mykonos along the beach when you're like walking up and down, one of those restaurants I was always getting, it was like spaghetti carbonara. And they
Mhm.
did a really good job with the spaghetti carbonara. They did an awesome job with that.
Mhm.
So, yeah, the food there was really good. But they do a lot of Mediterranean because it is Mediterranean. So they do have a lot of healthy options. They do
Right.
things with like feta cheese and all of those things.
Mhm.
Tzatziki sauce. And so,
I love that. Yeah, I've never been a huge like Mediterranean or Greek food fan, but
mhm.
we have had some where I'm just like, man, this is good. You
I
Yeah.
know?
think after this we should go to Cava.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Or what's the place next to Zazan Divine? Arabesque. That's really good.
Yeah.
Ooh.
What's that other one?
Kairos.
Kairos. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
Good.
They're like it's like Moe's, but Mediterranean.
Well, it's
food.
interesting you say that because I was shocked because when I was in Egypt, I know they're not the same countries, I get that. But when I was in Egypt, there was a lot of I really enjoyed the is it the falafel? That's
Mhm.
the I really
Yep.
enjoyed that. So when I would ask for that, a lot of times they'd be like, "What?" Like no. Some places in
Right.
Greece were like, "No," but their gyros were very, very good.
Which
Mhm.
is interesting because they kind of get smashed together in the
Mhm.
U.S. So like all the places that we just listed, they have falafel.
Yeah, that's what I'm
So,
saying. So you
Yep.
automatically are like, "Oh, that's," and then they've got the tzatziki sauce and stuff like
Yep.
that's what you think of.
Because it's like it's that side of the world at least.
Yep.
Right. You know, Megan and I actually met. Our first date was in a Showmars.
Yeah.
Now what's that?
It's like a fast food.
It's fast food. It's great.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean,
That's cool.
They have like
gyros.
gyros.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there is actually a restaurant in downtown Columbia that's right there where they do the it's by Chavez Spa.
Mm-hmm.
It's like on the corner by Chavez Spa, and it's a Greek restaurant. And I was like, oh, okay. Like they had the lemon drop martinis. That was a good thing. They have the rolled up. They do the rolled up like seaweed or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But they did have like the nice cheese plate. They do fry some of their cheese, but they do have a lot of cheese. That's a big thing over there too. So
But
I
I've-
love some cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After going to Greece and eating the Greek food, how does the Greek food here compare? Is it?
I mean, I'll tell you what. When we ate that gyro over there, because we actually watched them shave the lamb like
Mhm. Yep.
in the restaurant. It was really cool. It was almost like a street type vendor thing, but you could walk in and go get food. After that, like you're not gonna find that here in the US.
Yeah.
And I'm not even a big I do not eat that. I really would not have picked a gyro. That would never have. But he was like, "Here, try this," and I'm like, "I don't really have a desire to eat lamb." He's like, "No, you gotta try." And it was really, I'm glad we listened to him. So we were literally walking through the streets eating our gyro, and that was just completely normal. That was completely fine when we did that in Athens. So that was definitely something I would eat again.
Yeah.
The sauces were really good, both in Turkey and in Greece, because they use a lot of spices.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, very spicy foods over there, which is good because we like spice. So
Yeah.
And so that was Santorini.
yep.
And anything happen on the way back to the States?
Yes.
All right. Well, everybody buckle in.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So
Hold on, let me sit
I'm a
up
pretty
straight.
I'm a pretty good traveler. So I had my Dooney and Burt, my Gamecock Dooney and Burt. And for the record, I had just gotten my new iPhone days before we left
Mm-hmm.
for Turkey and Greece. So I'd spent like $1,000 or whatever it was. And so I have my brand new Dooney and Burt, and I have it as a crossbody, and I'm wearing it. And I took it everywhere, Turkey, Greece. It was nice because it wasn't too big. It wasn't too small. I could fit my phone in it. So I loved it. Well, we were flying back from Greece, actually. And I'll never forget. I don't know why I thought to do this. For some reason, at some point, even though I was sitting with my crossbody on, for some reason, at some point, I kind of threw the strap off my shoulder I don't even know the reason. Maybe I got up to go use the restroom. I don't know. I just didn't want it like banging people in the head as I walk by. So I sit back down or what have you. And then now it's time to board the plane. We're in Philly at this point. And I get off, I hop off and, check the little pockets like you're supposed to, even though I didn't really have anything in there. But I get up, Matt and I get up, and I think he fell asleep at one point on the plane because I met this British couple that was really cool and I was talking to them. And incidentally, they were also asking, I think Americans, people see our movies and they associate us with college parties a lot of times. So it was funny because this young couple, the guy especially, was asking me more questions. The girl was interested too, but he was like, tell me about American parties. And is that really what it's like? Because we were even talking about like Halloween and how we really get dressed. He's like, you guys really get dressed up? He's like, yeah, Americans. I have seen. So that is real. You guys get dressed up for Halloween like that? And I'm like, yeah, that's like,
that's what you do.
that's what you do. Like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah. And in America, do you really have these organizations? Because I think he saw, I had something, I'm sure, with my sorority letters on it, something. And so that's why he started asking me. But we get up, we get off the plane, and, as we're walking, because we get to the Philadelphia airport. So we're walking. And I mean, they literally just got us off the plane. And I think we made it like up the escalator. I'm like, oh my gosh, where's my crossbody? The crossbody that contained my passport, my husband's passport, my brand new iPhone. And I think, something else, I'm sure, credit cards, whatever because I have like the little koala thing on the back of my phone that has my credit cards, my ID, like everything. And I'm like, oh my God, is this? So I'm like checking my bag frantically. Matt's like, what's wrong? Because I'm freaking out. I'm thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen? Like, I don't have my passport. It's in my purse. We just got off the plane. How are they going to know that we're how do they know?
Oh, because
we had both mine and Matt's.
You didn't go through immigration yet.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I run back. Matt's like, oh my God, what do we do? I'm like, I don't know. What do I do? So I start freaking out. Like I had a full on cry meltdown. I'm like, oh my God. So we run back. And where we came out of, there's like the clear doors. Have you ever gotten off a plane? They shut the doors. So it's like you can't go back out onto the plane. So I see the door and like there's a cleaning guy, I think, on the outside. But somehow I ended up, I don't know what button I pushed or whatever, but somehow I got back into there. So I'm literally like, I could almost go back onto the plane, which is, by the way, very illegal. What I did. You should not be doing that. So please don't do that. And I'm like, oh my God. So you have people coming off. So you have like the pilot and the stewardess coming off. They're like, what are you doing here? Like, you're not supposed to. I'm like, I need my purse. I need my purse. They're like, wait, I'm like, can you go back on? They're like, we're not allowed. Like, they can't come back. They can't go back on. For some reason, they can't do that or whatever. And I'm like, my bag. And I'm freaking out. So they all leave. And the doors close behind you. So it's like, you can't get out unless like someone outside like opens the doors for you. So it's almost like you're stuck in there. It's almost like I'm in a cage. So I'm seeing people walk by through these clear windows that it's like, I can't get out there. Matt's on the other side. I'm freaking out. And then there's like a little phone on the wall and I pick it up and this is just so dramatic. I pick it up and it goes straight to like the airport front desk or whatever. So like, in case you're one of these, because this is where like, if you're a stewardess or a pilot or whatever, you would pick it up and be like, this is pilot so-and-so, we got to do XYZ. So it's for them. It's not for you or me.
Right.
And so I pick it up and they're like, yes, this is like the front desk. I'm like, I'm an American. I'm in distress. And they're like, what? I'm like, I am in distress. I'm an American. And they're like, oh, okay. I'm like, I don't know what to do. No. So I tried to get out of there, which once again, like it's illegal for me to even have been in there. And I'm like banging on the door. So like, I think someone was going to come get me, probably put me in handcuffs. Who knows? But I see a cleaning lady on the other side, cleaning lady or cleaning guy. And, he's like vacuuming. He's like, are you okay? And I'm like, I am an American in distress. And he's like, okay. So he comes over and he gets me out of there. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. So he ends up finding like security or somebody. And they take Matt and me to like the security. So this is, everyone's already gone through customs, but it's like they take us straight to the desk. Like there's no line. Like they bypassed any line. They take Matt and me to the line. And they're like, you're fine. Just go through. And so we had to go up to the front desk and they're like, what are your names? And we're like, this is our names. And I'm like, can you go look on? And so they apparently sent someone back on the cleaning crew. And apparently they couldn't find my bag with both our passports, my $1,000 phone, brand new Duty and Burke, could not find it. They're like, are you sure you left it? I'm like, yes, I'm sure I left it. Like I literally walked onto the plane with it that had our passports. We wouldn't have been able to walk on otherwise because you had to get it scanned. So I'm like sitting there. So now I'm freaking out. I'm like, how are we going to, oh my gosh, we're in Philly. How are we going to get back to Columbia? What are we going to do? And they're like, what's your name? Okay, great. And I think I was like, I'll give you my social. They're like, there's no need. And I'm like, really? It's this easy? Like, this is kind of concerning.
Yeah.
Literally, they're like, go on through. They let Matt and me just go on through so we can get on our next flight in Columbia. And I'm like, that's cool. I think they ended up like printing out extra ticket like passes or something for us, like boarding passes to get onto the flight from Philly to Columbia or wherever. And I was just like, well, that's concerning.
They're like, this lady is in distress. We just need to get her moving on. Get
her out of here. But it's, and to this day, I mean, and I was trying to go and I was doing the, the lost and found thing. I tried to go to the lost and found. I did it online too. I was looking and I was trying to call the different, I even tried calling because we had come at that point, I think we had flown through British Airways. At that point, we stopped in the UK, like when we were coming back from Greece. And so I'm thinking, okay, could I have dropped it in like, is it somewhere maybe in their airport? What did I do? Because I'm trying to picture. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure I got on the plane with it. So like, I know I got on the plane with that. Someone has my purse.
They couldn't find on like any cameras or anything.
They couldn't find anything.
Wow.
And even with my phone, people were like, well, did you use the, where's my iPhone? I tried doing that, but I think I had my phone turned on like airplane mode. I may have even turned it all the way off.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, what's the point? Like, I'm not going to use my phone. So I didn't think anything of it. And I did a claim through like British Airways. And let me tell you, that was a big headache. I took a picture from online, like this is what the bag would look like. I like had to submit that. Everything got submitted. Nothing was ever found. I have a hard time believing I lost that. But that was scary because we were coming back from another country and I know how strict our laws can be, but apparently not at the Philadelphia airport. But I know how strict our laws can be, and that really concerned me. I was really concerned we wouldn't be able to get back into the country.
Yeah.
And then there's like having to get another passport.
Well, and I've flown into the country to where you don't even have to show your passport sometimes now.
They just scan your face.
They just scan your face, and it's like,
is that real?
Yeah.
Yeah, are you just making things up?
Yeah.
I mean, but even and I do recognize that there is privilege inherently in that whole situation, right? Because I'm a female. I'm a white female. So, I mean, I'm banging on doors. Like, and there was even a sign there that's like, if you are in here and you are unauthorized, like you could go to prison. Like it said there was a sign that was like, this is, TSA does not play. So the fact that like I didn't get arrested is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But the fact that they pretty much just walked us to the front of their line, here you go, American. I mean, it was just very, you wouldn't see that.
It's almost like you should just say your passport's stolen so you can bypass the line of immigration.
Seriously.
That's what I'm thinking. We should do that. Like, what's that one comedian that's like, I just bring my rental car and leave it at the at the front.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, you could do this.
Yeah, I could just do this every time.
That's a good idea.
Because they're like, hey man, you can't do that. And he's like, well, I mean, I did it.
If you want your car back.
Yeah. And they're like, well, all right.
That's a good idea. Well, it was just shocking to me. And even Matt was like, well, that's a bit concerning. Like even Matt thought it was strange, but then we had to go and replace and I was worried that we wouldn't be able to replace our passports because there's like hoops you have to jump through to replace a passport. And it bummed me out because we had all the stamps from like Turkey and I had them from Paris when I was there and Amsterdam and obviously Greece. I had all these wonderful stamps.
You're like, whoever finds this, keep my identification, but just send me the
seriously,
pages
just send me. I don't even want the phone or the purse. Just give me my passport. Like that's all I cared about. But when you do a passport and you get another one to replace it, it actually says there's like something on your new passport that lets them know that it's like a replacement.
Yeah.
Oh.
It pretty much says I'm irresponsible.
That's exactly what
Strike
it says.
one.
Yeah. Exactly. And it sucks because now, as you guys know, you go on some of these trips and now some places don't even stamp. They don't even stamp your passport. Like that's why I have it. That's what I want. I want that stamp.
Yeah.
It's like, can you at least just pretend, like, even if it's not like an official stamp, just give me, like.
Yeah. Well, we were going to do that in Peru, remember? We were
with Machu Picchu. Exactly.
But then we were like, oh, that can make your passport invalid or something like that.
Because remember, we read about that. We're like, can we at least get a Machu Picchu one? And they're like, yeah, come. It's only $5. And then you read online. It's like, don't do that. That is a bad idea.
Yeah. Well, after thinking about it, I should have done because I have the national park passport thing. You can get the stamps from the different national parks and stuff. And so when you go into like the gift shops, they have stuff if you forget yours. So like say I carry mine in my purse, but say I left it somewhere and I'm like, oh man, I went to this cool national park. I really want to take this stamp back. You can buy additional purchase from them, but it's like it's just like a sticker. So you can stamp the
Oh,
sticker and then put the sticker in your book. We should have done that
that's
with the Machu
oh. So
Picchu
now we
stamp.
know. Now we know
Yeah.
from now on. That's
We
what you
should
need to do.
carry those with us.
Yeah.
Get some stickers because it's like you could do like you know like there's like those name tags with the little
Yeah.
squigglies that are like my name is or whatever. You can do something like that, or the ones that they have are the circular stamps. That's
Yeah,
what
we could
the
definitely do
cancellation
that.
stamp
That's a
is.
smart idea. Because that right there, that was the, and it sucked too because like I said, I literally just got that phone. And you
Yeah.
don't think, you know, I could have been like, well, I don't need a phone. But think of everything that's connected to your phone. Because then when I went
Especially
to go
an
into my
iPhone.
email,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, we're going to send you the code. I'm like, you have nowhere to send it. I'm like, I don't know because I
Yeah.
don't have my phone. So it was crazy because, like I said, this was in July. And I think I was teaching a class that summer too. So when I got back, I couldn't even get into like my Blackboard or my email or anything like that because I needed a phone. So I told
Yeah.
Matt, I'm like, I know I just paid $1,000 for this brand new phone. And of course, the funny thing is they said, would you like any kind of, would you like insurance on this, you know, in case it gets
And you're
lost or
like, no, I
stolen? And
don't
I'm
need
like,
that.
no, I'm not irresponsible. I remember saying those very words. And then I was like, oh, that sucks. So I had to go back and spend like another $1,000 on a brand new phone because otherwise I couldn't get into my emails or
Yeah,
anything. And
no.
like, you need that for work. So
Yep. They just did something at my work where we have to use like Microsoft Authenticator. And
Yeah.
first of all, I had the hardest time setting that up. I had to go to like the Tech Express and
Yep.
have someone help me, which I just felt so ridiculous because I'm like the tech savvy person in my family.
Yeah.
And for me to not be able to figure that out, I was like, oh my gosh. And I also work in technology too. So it's like, come on, girl. But yeah, I was just thinking there's so much stuff connected to my not even just my phone, but my phone number. If I
No,
would ever change my
exactly.
phone number, man,
Yes.
there's so much stuff I wouldn't be able to get into, like two-factor authentication. Psh,
No, exactly.
it's
Like you
scary.
you have to keep your number and you have to have access to your phone because just basic stuff, just doing your job.
Yeah.
Like you even banking. Like cuz
Yeah.
we use USAA and I mean just there's just so much attached to your phone number like you said, so much attached to your phone. So when that happened I was like, ah, like I didn't want to spend that money. But like the worst part was the passports because it wasn't even just my passport.
It
Matt
was.
gave me the passports too. So he's like, you're responsible with this stuff. And I'm so now he'll joke whenever we travel. He's like, are you sure I want to give it to you?
Yeah.
Sure. Thanks, Matt. Thanks.
I'll hold on to mine.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, I don't know, Aubrey.
Yeah, well, thanks for telling us about your travels.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for being our first guest.
Yeah, thanks for having
This was
me.
a really fun episode. I think it's
Yeah.
going to be a fun episode for people to listen to as well. It was nice hearing about your trips and like the little, details. And I think sitting down like this not forces us because
Yeah.
it's not like we don't want to talk about it, but in everyday conversations, we're not going to sit here and just, oh, this is our specific topic in a
Yeah.
social situation like that. So this is a really cool thing.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you
thanks for
coming.
having me. I mean, I'm hoping that you and the listeners will really start thinking like maybe Turkey and Greece is a fun trip.
I think so.
I'll just spend some turkey.
That's what I'm saying.
Greece sounds fun too,
I'm
but
telling you. I'm telling you. Yeah.
But yeah, we'll have you back on sometime and
Awesome.
talk about somewhere else too.
yeah.
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. That's it for this week. Thank you guys so much for listening. Oh, but before we do that, did you want to share any of your social so, where listeners can follow you, see trip photos and find you? I know you
Sure.
have
I do have Instagram and Facebook.
You can also send us any photos from that trip that you want, and we can also
Put on
post
our
them.
YouTube.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's fine. Yeah,
can
I
do
could
that
do
too.
that. My social for LinkedIn, or I'm sorry, Instagram is Dr. period ALEAS 50. It's my Instagram. And I'm also on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I almost forgot to share your socials too. So I'm glad we circled back for that one. But that's it for this week, you guys. Thanks so much for listening. Our socials for the podcast, we've got Temporary Locals on Spotify, YouTube, and we're on Instagram at Temporary Locals Podcast. Jared is on Instagram at Rover_Stover and YouTube at Rover Stover. And then you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook at Mega Goes Global. If you guys like this, or you think, you might want to go on a trip, save to Greece or Turkey, save this episode, share it with a friend, like, comment, leave us a review. We would love all of that. And with that,
I'm Jared.
and I'm Megan. Thanks for exploring with us.
And be a local anywhere you go.
Bye.
Bye.